right, Ambitions fans, here we are at the episode review for episode 14, You Owe Me. Right off the bat, this episode gets a 9 out of 10. I thought it was fantastic. We had a lot of stuff going down. So once again, sad to say that we only got a couple more episodes left before season 1 comes to a close. But overall, it was a ride from start to finish, to say the least. Basically, we start off with Stephanie and her mother. I believe the mother's name is Irene. Her mother stopping by. Stephanie had called her. Basically, she's obviously torn up about the whole Evan and Bella situation. Something I forgot to mention in my last episode review was that at the end of the episode, it was revealed that Stephanie had gotten, I believe, a pair of like fuzzy handcuffs from Bella's place, which she recognized as Evan. So she pretty much put two and two together that the two of them have been having an affair, and it is quite possible that Joaquin is actually Evan's son. Now, the thing about it is, Stephanie's obviously enraged about this and wants to get revenge immediately, but her mom is pretty much the level-headed one in this situation, pretty much stating that unlike Evan and her father, she's not as short-sighted, and when it comes to eventually going from like the governor's or mayor's mansion to the White House, it's actually Stephanie who's being groomed for the position, not Evan. So her mom's pretty much just staying there for the long game, honey. We've already invested a lot of time and money into this operation, so don't go blowing it now when you actually have the advantage, because you know something that they don't know that you know, because they've been trying to hide it. So her mom pretty much reassures her that everything is going to be okay, just hang in there for right now. And we also have Amara and Titus having the FBI sweeping their house for Damien's hidden cameras, even though Amara thinks that Stephanie's the one behind the hidden cameras, but Titus knows that when it comes to Stephanie, this is way too discreet. She's obviously one of those people that whenever she does something, she wants you to know it's her rather than someone else. And not to mention, he's the one that says it's possibly Damien, the one who's behind this, and Amara doesn't want to accept the fact that she's messed up. I mean, she's owned up to that, but she just doesn't want to accept that she's allowed this creepy sociopath, possibly mentally unstable person into their lives. So it's kind of interesting. Titus and Amara, it's like Titus is playing the Irene role, where they're both trying to calm down Stephanie and Amara from making rash decisions because they found out something that they weren't supposed to find out, you know, like Amara in the cameras and Stephanie learning about Evan and Bella. And let's see, we've actually got some good stuff here. I mean, it seems like, oh yeah, that's right, Hunter sent a text message to Titus about getting to the office ASAP because it's pretty much a crisis. Purefoy is not looking good. But real quick from there, we have Bella and Evan talking. Joaquin is doing fine. Basically, that's good to hear after being abducted like that. Ignacio texts Bella saying that he's coming back in town from Brazil pretty soon. And Bella's friend, her name escapes me at the moment, but the one who was involved with Eddie, who was also involved with the kidnapping, comes over with some gifts for Joaquin and Evan. They pretty much give each other a stink eye, Evan and the girl, and they pretty much kind of just, you know, recap what's going on. And Bella is pretty much reassuring that Evan's crew is close to finding out who exactly this kidnapper was and who was in league with him. So that makes her friend uncomfortable because we all know that she was involved in this situation as well. From there we have Darcia and Rondell. Evan shows up and he doesn't trust her. It's pretty interesting to see the dynamic between Rondell, who's a bit too trusting and, well, friendly in general, but then Evan is the one who looks out for her because, you know, he can pretty much smell when there's something foul in the air. So it's not that, you know, it's almost like, you know, he knows from their past growing up that she obviously doesn't play with a straight deck because she has ulterior motives. And of course we learned that later in the episode, even though we got a hint of it at the end of the last episode. After that, you know, he pretty much says that, hey, their father's death is still being investigated. and they still are believing that it was actually Greg Peters, but we'll just have to wait and see what happens with that. I might have to do an entire video about the whole senior situation, but I'll touch upon that a little later in the video. After this, we go to Hunter's office, where once again they're in crisis. You have Lori, I believe for the first time in the series since the show came back. We have her, Titus, and all the other, representatives, and I'm guessing like, upper management of the company trying to fan out the flames, but at this point it's a lost cause because the emails have went viral. People like any kind of company or foundation that accepted a donation from the Purefoy company wants nothing to do with them. Some of them are sending the money back. Things are not good at all. But believe it or not, Titus kind of clears the room, and it's just Lori and himself, and they're actually having a somewhat civil conversation due to the fact that oh, you know what, my bad, I actually skipped it. Sorry, I can't even read my own notes. Yeah, Titus clears the room, and he brings up the fact that the FDA is looking into the situation, which could make it even worse. And, Lori's pretty open when Titus asks, hey, are there any other skeletons in the closet? Because as bad as these emails are, if there's any more dirt in the past for this company, it can make things even worse. And basically, Lori's like, her grandfather didn't become a wealthy businessman by being a Boy Scout. So there's no telling what kind of things were done or said that Stephanie and her team could possibly dig up, making things even worse. And let's see. Stephanie stops Lori from going recklessly over to Stephanie. Oh, excuse me. Titus stops Lori from going recklessly to Stephanie's office because, yeah, that would not be a good look at this time. And from there, he gets a phone call from someone after Lori leaves, but we don't know who it is. I'm guessing it's Amara. I don't know for sure. But after that, Stephanie's and her dad have a good moment. It's almost like, Stephanie's parents were actually reassuring her of a lot during this episode, where you had Irene reassuring Stephanie that despite what's going on between Evan and Bella, there are bigger fish to fry. So she might as well just hang in there for right now. Everything's going to be okay. And her father pretty much, is giddy over the fact that Purefoy is pretty much sinking at the moment, but also just tries to, apologize and explain to Stephanie that you're my daughter and I'm tough on you for a reason because the world is always tougher. So they had a nice moment right there. I mean, despite her, wait, correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't, no, I was about to say that Stephanie didn't cackle once this episode, but I do believe she actually does when she's with Titus later on. But it was just a night. I think this episode really did shine when it came to highlighting Stephanie and her parents' relationship. Then we have Amara and Damien, and Damien stops by her office saying that, hey, I'll leave you alone from now on. I know we have this HR situation now, but I just wanted to stop by, say I'm sorry, and move along. But then, she apologizes because the affair wasn't just on him. It was the two of them together. And she kind of hints at the fact that Titus might be abusive. And Damien kind of eats that up, saying, you need a man who will be there for you, that'll be good to you and whatnot. And then he leaves the office. And Amara obviously changes demeanors pretty quickly. So we know it's a setup. After that, we have Bella and Ignacio talking. He's pretty much showing her a website his designers made up for Bella True. And she pretty much, brushes off his advancements because of the fact that she's preoccupied mentally due to her son being kidnapped and, trying to focus on things that are important. And, mad at herself for not keeping things professional. So he leaves a bit disappointed, but not frustrated. But he gets on a phone call with someone when he's not too far away from the door. And he says something interesting in regards to this partnership better be interesting or pay off at some point soon. So who is he working for? Remember when Bella brought up that, crap, I forgot the name of the woman who's in charge of this company, but as soon as she said that this was supposed to be an exclusive designer deal, but I'm actually interacting with her son, and Evan had a puzzled look on his face like, son. So, oh, is it Valentina? Valentina. So, yeah, that might hint that this dude is not, of course, playing with a straight deck. But who in this show is? Let's see. Then we have Stephanie and Titus meeting up. And Titus pretty much confronts her over the email being released to the public when it shouldn't have, which could actually cause trouble for Stephanie. And she's pretty much gloating in his face about how things are just getting worse and worse for the Purefoy company. And Titus out of nowhere says that he plans on divorcing Amara, and Stephanie tries to play it off like, oh my God, I've been waiting for this for so long. When in actuality, she just gloats in his face about the only reason she would even sleep with him is to get back at Amara. And I think he says that I feel sorry for you and then left. So, yeah, we're rolling through this review. Okay, so Darcia tells Rondell that Senior borrowed, $50,000 from her father, and she wants it paid back. And there was like a notary for it. And the next morning, Evan comes over and writes a check for $5,000 because he asked how much it was. And it's kind of interesting how she went from saying $50,000 to Rondell, but then threw in things like interest and inflation, meaning that would be around $600,000. But I'll take $500,000 because we're family. So she doesn't want to accept the $5,000 check. Rondell rips it up, throws it in her face, and then tells her to leave. So isn't that family for you? Then we have Titus and Lori, and probably their first decent moment together the entire series so far, where they're having a conversation where, you know, Titus applaud Lori for being honest as opposed to just defending her father in the midst of this turmoil. And she asked a very good question about why are you still here after the emails that were sent out, and you clearly know that, you know, my father and, possibly your grandfather have purposely targeted, African Americans to make a profit. But Titus stands firm, saying that, regardless of everything, despite wanting to quit 5 times a day, the Purefoy company has done a lot of good, and I still see a lot of good potential in the Purefoy company. So that was a good moment. And when he gets a text message, she automatically assumed it was Amara and just says, hey, do right by her because I messed up as well when it came to someone I really cared about. I believe that was in reference to Carly. So does that hint that Lori actually has feelings for her? All right, then we get to a very tense family dinner between Stephanie and her parents, along with Evan, pretty much going over Senior's funeral. And, Stephanie's father has his elitist attitude towards everything that went down, calling it ghetto, ridiculous, and from there tries to strong arm Evan to give him the airport concession stand in order to hand it over to Greg Peters. Evan doesn't want to do it. Him and Stephanie have a war of words over how he's talking to her mother. And from there, Rondell shows up pretty much to say that tomorrow during the reading of the will, Darcy is going to show up with her lawyer. So that's going to be very interesting. All right, then we have Damien and Amara having I guess you could say, a physical scene in the shower, but then it kind of switches where Damien is seeing Titus where he was with Amara, and yeah, it turned out to be a weird dream. That's like the 4th or 5th dream in this series that is, somebody's wet dream, and they all involved a shower. What was it in episode 1 or 2? Stephanie in her tub and Titus showed up, and now we have Damien and Amara, then Titus. And I think before that, wasn't there ending of an episode where Bella was in the shower and then Evan showed up? Yeah, just a trend in this show I've noticed. After that, we have the reading of the will, and it turns out Darcia was actually correct. Senior did borrow that money from his brother, and in order to pay it back, she is actually owner after the property was appraised and whatnot, of about 2/3 of the business. So that raises a lot of red flags, but like I said, I'll do an entire video on that because it really does warrant some more investigation on my part. But why wouldn't Senior mention something like this beforehand? Not to mention, if we knew Rondell never wanted to sell, Senior actually wanted to for a time, especially after Stephanie was talking about a good deal, but I don't know why this never came up. And not to mention at the end of the previous episode where she got on the phone saying this would be easier than taking candy from a baby or whatever, she made it seem like this was a huge scam. But if Senior actually did borrow the money and then left it in the will, why would it be so dark and sneaky? Yeah, something ain't right here. So after the reading of the will, we have Damien and Amara, and he overhears a talk between Amara and apparently her mom on the phone talking about Titus and how he's a bit possessive and whatnot. And it was all a front in order to trick Damien. And then after that, we have Bella and Stephanie, and we know that Stephanie's on to Bella, and she comes over asking for, oh, I have the paperwork here for the contract, and I'll let you read over everything. You turn it back to me so we can move things forward to see if we can get you the best deal with Valentina possible. And she swipes one of Joaquin's caps, so we know she's going to do a DNA test at some point in the near future, the next episode. After that, we have Amar having Damien arrested because he tries to reenact his wet dream in the shower, and the FBI takes him down. So seemingly that's the end of Damien, but I wonder if he's going to reveal about Stephanie and the fact that she's the one that orchestrated this entire thing. And the episode ends with Bella's friend getting into a vehicle talking about how she's fearful for her life because Evan's crew is close to finding out her involvement with Joaquin's kidnapping, and it turns out she's been working with Irene the entire time. Folks, You Owe Me was a great episode from start to finish. Definitely a lot of stuff went down and things that I definitely need to do a separate video on. And I do believe that OWN has uploaded the past 3 episodes to their YouTube channel. I think between now and sometime next week. I know I saw something about how you can watch the episodes for free for the next few days until like December the 5th or something. And I have to say that if you haven't caught up with Ambition since it came back on the air, I would highly recommend it because the show's definitely getting to Tyler Perry levels of cliffhangers. Each week I'm wanting more and more. The episodes are getting better and better. I think overall, we are gearing up for some major revelations and plot points that even I didn't see coming in some instances before the season comes to a close. I'm just waiting for that one scene where Rondell comes down the stairs with a loaded shotgun. So we'll just have to wait and see what happens on that one. But let me know, do you think that Lori actually has feelings for Carly? Do you think that Damien is actually gone for good this time, even though we'd see him in the preview for next week? He's under arrest though. How about Evan? Will he find out that, or Bella, will they find out Bella's friend is involved in Joaquin's kidnapping? And what exactly is going to happen with the airport concession stand? Will Peters get it, or will Evan hold on to it for dear life? And with that being said, make sure you subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. Check me out on social media. Links are in the description below, and I'll catch you on the next video.